Hi, welcome to another episode of Look Ma No Hands. My name is Linda, and on my podcast, I like to talk about all things crochet, art, books that I'm reading, things I'm watching, anything else that's happening in my life. So, yeah, that's what I'm here for. This week, you can see I have on quite a bit of crochet. I was working diligently on my Willow square poncho and I finally finished it, so decided to put that on today as one of my wardrobe pieces. And then I also have been making these lacy crocheted beanies, and this one I decided to add some beads to it. So yeah, those are the things that I've been working on this week, and what I've decided to model for everyone. I'll pop in a better picture of the poncho so that you can kind of see the full effect. From this angle you don't really get to see very much of it, so yeah. I am going to have to adjust the drawstring on it a little bit because it's drooping a little more than I care for it to be drooping, so yeah, but it turned out really nice. It might be a touch bigger than I wanted it to be, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, so yeah. The lacy beanies that I'm working on, I was scrolling through Instagram like one does, and went down the crochet rabbit hole of Instagram, and it appears that maybe these kind of beanies are going to be popular for the spring and summer season. So I saw a quick video that someone posted, I can't remember who, I'll have to try and see if I can look it up, of this particular style, and after watching the video through a couple of times I was able to figure out what exactly they were doing. There wasn't a lot of dialogue through the video, and all of the text on the screen was in Portuguese. I believe the particular creator is probably either Brazilian or Portuguese, so I had to do the best I could to figure out from the little bit of Portuguese that I have learned over the last couple of years, and watching what the person was doing in the video, I was able to figure it out. The one thing I can say is that the yarn that I used is a little on the thin side, so even though I chose a slightly larger hook than what they used in the video, I feel like the beanie is still a touch snug, but it will serve its purpose of keeping my hair from flying everywhere when I'm out and about now in the summer, and it's not going to be too warm because of the fact that it has a lot of chain spaces throughout, just those little bit of shells through, so I think it will do very good for what I'm hoping it to be able to do this summer. I'm thinking of growing my hair out again. As you can see, it's getting quite a bit longer, so hopefully I can don this cute little lacy beanie to keep everything a little bit under control when I'm out and about. So let's move on to what I have been reading. This week I finished one novel and flipped through quite a few crochet books, so we'll go through that. The first book that I finished this week was the one novel that was a recommendation from one of you, and it was quite good. The name of the book is Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. It was just like the perfect, I guess you would say almost like a human interest piece, like you would see in the news when they give those like feel-good stories. This particular book is about a gentleman who comes into a southern town and sees some portraits on the wall in the cafe and decides that the portraits should be given to the people that are represented in each picture. And so he goes one by one and purchases each of the portraits, and then does his due diligence to find out who is in the portrait, and sets up a meeting with each person to give them the portrait of themselves. And throughout the story, then he develops friendships with each of the portrait recipients. And what I loved about this story is just the idea that we need to take more time to connect with people. That was pretty much like the through line of this entire story, was that every person has a story, and every person deserves to be recognized and understood. And so what Theo does is makes those connections and helps others see the importance of making connections with each other. And he kind of helps to build community through these portraits, because some of the people that he seeks out from the portraits then end up becoming friends with one another because of their relationship with Theo. And I just really thought that it was so beautiful the way the author talked about, like, we need to look each other in the eyes and see like the true person and go beyond what our preconceived notions of other people are. Sitting down and really getting to know one another is just so important. And I tend to agree with that sentiment. I have friends from all walks of life, all ages, and I know that my life is more rich because of that diversity in my friendship circle. And I just find such great value in that diversity. So this story was one that was just very real to me and very easily like relatable for me. And it was just a very enjoyable experience to read this book. It is Alan Levi's debut novel. He has like an author's note at the end and talks about like the birth of this particular novel. And I really look forward to seeing more from him, because he was just such a great storyteller. Like, the writing in it was just so hard to put down. Like, I just wanted to keep reading. And when I got to the end of the book, I was like, oh my gosh, if he doesn't write another one, I don't even care if he brings more, like if he continues with these same characters or if he creates new characters. Like, just his understanding of humanity is so deep that his writing is just, yeah. I like I said, I can't get enough of it. I hope he writes many more novels. So yeah. Crochet books this week that I was going through. One of the ones that I kind of return to time and again is called Crochet One-Skein Wonders by Judith Durant. Part of why I go to that one in particular is because it's one skein. A lot of the yarn that I have is like one-off skeins that I don't know what to do with. So I jump back to this book every once in a while. Each time I look through the book, I find something different to make. This time I don't know necessarily that I found anything in particular, but I do love flipping through that particular book. So yeah. And then something else that piqued my interest when I was scrolling through the list of all of the crochet books that came up was one called 100 Micro Crochet Motifs by Steffi Glaves, or Glaves. I don't know how exactly you pronounce her last name, but it's Glaves. I thought it would be interesting to see what micro crochet projects she has. I've been kind of thinking about maybe doing some like jewelry or things like that. So maybe making some earrings, I'm not sure. So I was going through the micro crochet book to see if I got any inspiration from that. There were a few things in there that I was like, oh, that's interesting. We'll have to see if I can be brave enough to pick up teeny tiny crochet hooks and embroidery thread and go to town. I definitely have that desire to do so, but the thought of working with very small hooks, every once in a while I poke myself with my hook. A big hook isn't a problem, but when I start working with those tiny hooks, those really hurt when you poke yourself. So I don't know if I'm going to be brave enough to do that. And then there was one that I read, Crochet Baby Blankets by Kristi Simpson. I'm almost tempted to buy that one because there were a lot of patterns in there that I was like, ooh, I like that. So, yeah. One in particular was one that kind of reminded me of like the mile a minute type of crochet patterns where you make multiple strips and then stitch those strips together to make the blanket. I've never done one of those particular styles of blanket, but I've got it on my list of things to stitch, so I might sit down with that pattern. I have some Caron Simply Soft yarns that I could use for it and make one of those baby blankets just to see if I like doing mile a minute. The blanket that was in the book was done in kind of like cream, tan, brown colors. I don't have those particular colors, unfortunately, because I really did like that color combination. But again, just trying to use up the yarn that I have. It'll probably end up being more pastel looking than the nice neutral calming tones of kind of like that coffee look to it. This will be more like jelly beans, I guess, maybe for springtime and Easter and all of that. So yeah, I'll see what I come up with. And then the last book that I read this week is Things I Learned from Knitting by Steffi Pearl-McPhee. This book was okay. The writing wasn't great. There were a lot of mistakes that I found in the book that I'm kind of wondering how the editors didn't catch them. They were simple like grammatical things and subject-verb agreement. Like there was just a lot of mistakes in this book that made it not a great reading experience. I'm only about halfway through it. It's not a real long book. Yeah, I wasn't impressed, unfortunately. It was a cute concept. Like she had a great layout for the plan of the book, but I was not jiving with it. So I'm kind of particular about the books that I read when it comes to things like mistakes that I found. I don't know. I guess just being in a lot of English classes throughout my life and teachers and professors that were big sticklers on make sure you edit not just for content but also for very important things like grammar and spelling. So I'm hypercritical of those kinds of things because of how diligent my teachers were in driving home that idea of edit. Like don't turn in something that's gonna have mistakes that you could hand it to a friend and say, read this, do you see anything wrong? Yeah, that was my big complaint for that book. So moving on. Watching this week General Hospital. We got caught up on Trent. We had missed a couple episodes, so got all caught up on that. We're watching the Kids Baking Championship, and Tim laughs at me every time at the end when they announce who is being cut from the show. I cry. They're little kids. Like, they should all be winners. I know they can't all be winners, but they all work so hard and they're so cute. And it just breaks my heart when they have to send somebody home. So, but he thinks it's funny that I'm crying. He's like, you don't even know them. I'm like, I know, but I'm watching the competition, and it's just like, they're adorable and they're working so hard, and then their little broken hearts when they have to leave. So I can't help it. I get very emotional. And it's been a really enjoyable experience because the kids really are just adorable, and like the relationship between the brothers and the sisters, and they're cute. And then of course the hosts are doing a really great job of being encouraging and being good teachers. So I really enjoy how the production staff has cultivated a really good show in terms of trying to build up these kids. It would be interesting to see what happens in a few years when they're young adults, if they decide to pursue a career in baking, or if this continues to just stay a hobby for them. Hopefully that no matter what happens, they continue to bake as something that they enjoy. So yeah, that's my take on the Kids Baking Championship. There's one more week left, and of all the kids that are left, any one of them, or pairs of kids that are left, any of them are, in my opinion, quite worthy of being named the champion. They all work really hard. They all really enjoy what they're doing. So yeah, I will probably cry at the end, between tears of joy and just feeling that disappointment with the ones that don't make the final cut. But I mean, there can only be one winning team, so it's hard, but I'll make it through. And Tim will laugh at me, but that's okay. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all we've been watching. I've been painting a little bit. I decided to work on painting up some greeting cards, so my process for that is to kind of start out with my sketchbook and do like a rough sketch of what I want to have for the final product. I did my sketch and then colored it in with colored pencils. I got like super deep in it this time, like if I'm, creating some masterpiece, and it was really just quite simple. I'm still pretty amateurish with the watercolors, but did my little sketch and then did like a trial run of the watercolor painting in my watercolor sketchbook, and then decided to finally move on to the actual greeting cards and make the final product. So I will definitely pop in some pictures to show you what I've come up with. And yeah, I'm thinking about maybe making a few packs of greeting cards that I can give to friends and family, or possibly even package them for sale. I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking ahead to the summer concert series this year to see about shifting some of my crochet projects away from bigger blankets and things like that, and making smaller accessories and bags and what have you, and then also doing more smaller paintings and the greeting cards. I'm wondering if maybe something like a greeting card would be more practical and people would be more apt to want to purchase something like that rather than a painting that they have to figure out like where in their home they want to put it. So yeah, just trying to see some new ideas for myself of what to do. So I really appreciate everybody stopping in to get caught up with what I've been up to. If this is your first time here, thank you for taking a chance on my video and giving me a watch. If you are enjoying what you're seeing, I hope maybe you will consider hitting that subscribe button. Definitely give it a thumbs up. And for all of you that come back time and again, leave comments, hit that thumbs up. I appreciate all of your support. I love that I got a book recommendation this week, and it turned out to be one that genuinely was something that I really enjoyed. it seems that we're learning quite a bit about one another, that we can make recommendations that that are enjoyable to each other. So that was pretty cool. And again, if you have any other recommendations, books that you're reading that you think I might enjoy, pass those along. If I don't enjoy the book, I'll probably still say that. I will be appreciative of you sharing what you're sharing, and we always know that no two people have the same opinions, and I will be honest with my opinion but respectful. So yeah, until next week, make it a good one.